I'm sitting here debating on if I should push the record button. So there's random thoughts I just like to share, because apparently people are listening, so I'm just gonna keep sharing my thoughts, you know. I also like to share like evidence on things. You know, you have your senses, all your senses. You got the sense of smell, sense of touch, seeing, hearing, tasting, and all 5 of those senses you have like, you can take it literally, and then you can take it spiritually. I was thinking about that, and then I'm sitting here also thinking, like I always do, and just start thinking, like, should I push record? I don't know if I'm ready to explain what I'm trying to think here, because I don't know exactly. I just know that there's a pattern going on, and then as soon as I sense this pattern, then I grab it and I try to explain it. Because what'll happen is this: I'll rewatch the video, I'll hear it, and then it's like just capturing these thoughts that come through, and then when you can put them down on paper, then they manifest even more when you hear it again. So that's what I do. And you guys want to watch and listen? Fine. That's it. I'm perfectly okay with that. This is like a personal thing. I'm just pushing record and then playing it back, and it's like a diary, a journal that everybody gets to hear. For whatever reason you want to hear it, it's free to hear. Here. See? So it's like, hey, here you go. Hey, can you hear that? So there's ways of looking at all these senses. And of course your senses are, you know, you can hear something on YouTube, right? You can hear something, and you can be like, oh my God. And you could be like fearful of what you heard, because you heard something. We've all heard something, and that's kind of why we got on YouTube, to try to find out what the hell is going on here. Does anybody know what's like going on? Why is everything fake? Why are these people following me around all the time? I didn't even do anything. So there's things that you hear on YouTube that can cause fear. So, but how you're sensing it, you're interpreting what you heard as fear, because on the inside, that's how you start feeling. So there's a bunch of individual people that are hired to spread this information, anything that's fearful. I mean, that's kind of where the fear porn comes in at. It literally is, because it's like fear porn, and porn is staged, and just like movies are staged and everything's an act, and it's a script. That's how those whispers get transferred over into your conscience, because you hear things, and anytime there's a solution to what you're hearing, which is fear, they'll come up with something else that'll give you a reason to fear that. And then when you beat that, they'll give you a reason to fear that one. It's like, it's step after step after step. It's onion peels layered up, just onions peeled up in multiple layers of deception. They have it covered. So when you can interpret what you heard, and you can hear that the goal of the speaker is to instill fear and then step aside and go about their business. And meanwhile, that fear that they just instilled in you, well, it's there for pretty much as long as you allow it to stay there for. And that's like multiplying. That's how one person can multiply their evil plan. So it's up to you if you allow that, what you heard, and because you're the interpreter of everything. Everybody has their own interpretation of everything that goes on in their life and others. It's not always the same. Some people are judgmental, other people are not judgmental. Some people are in between. It's like hot, cold, or lukewarm. It's the way it is. So how do you interpret what you heard that is being done on purpose, and then you know like what that whole purpose is on that side over there, like on that side over there? What is the purpose of those people on the other end of this screen here? What is their objective? Well, obviously one of them is to play out the Bible's end time prophecy. And they're doing it with all the control that they need in the world to do it. They have the control. They were hired to do this. Doesn't mean they're going to get and continue on with the position, but they were hired to do this. And then the watchers are starting to see who they would prefer, to take the reign. So once you got that settled, that's when you start laughing at what you heard. And man, is that all the world of a difference, going from what? Oh man, because I'm going to tell you, there was a point in period of time before I even got on YouTube, and I'm sure people can relate to this one. You're seeing all this stuff happening. You know they're acting this out. You know it's bullshit. You're hearing what they're saying. You're picking apart their stories because they purposely leave stupid things in there to get you to be like, what? Just in case if you didn't catch on with the Holy Spirit. So they still want to wake you up to that sense. So they can wake you up like, oh my God, they're going to kill us. And so yeah, they got me at that point. They got me. I thought that our government was just going to cut all the power, everything off, and just kill us. I thought that. And I was pretty sick for a little while because that made me sick. Because I would go to work with my brother in the morning and he would talk, because he's the conspiracy theorist guy, but he still doesn't understand the sky is fake as all hell. But he will when he sees aliens appearing out of the sky. But it made me sick to think, like, why would God allow this to happen? That was the question I asked myself. Why would God allow this to happen? I'll tell you, that was the first question I asked myself. And then all of 2016, I went into the Word of God to try to answer my own questions, because these are the questions that I needed to answer. I needed the answers from them. So you dig deep in the Bible and you continue to study with what you already know, and just knowing that knowledge increases. So you go into the book to get your answers, and then you come out and then you experience what it's like to dive into that book and then jump back out into reality and help try to explain it the best way you know how. Maybe some people can relate. Maybe some people can't, and they will later. Maybe I'm not making any sense at all. It's a possibility. You know, I don't expect people to truly understand what I'm saying, but I try to show it the best way I can. I try to explain it the best way I can. So when you have this fear tactic, on the other end, and you finally start waking up to the fact that, oh, wait a minute, no, they're not killing us. No, they're not killing us. They are making it seem like they're gonna kill us, right? I mean, boy, I'll tell you, I mean, you look out in the world, it's like, man, they are coming after us. So I get it. They got me. They got me at that point. Some people aren't even at that point. Some people are not even awake to the fact that they even think that the government's going to kill them. That's like step one of waking up. Then you got like 90 million others to dig through to get to the core of the truth, and then you know, reel in. Look, even if you caught the shark, just keep reeling him in. If he's not hopping on board, just keep reeling him in. So it's a play. It's an act. It's a war of words. It is literally a war of words. And yeah, we're going to see some things because the social media, they're still collaborating with the mainstream. So because you see things happen on the mainstream and they're happening on the social, then it's like, okay, they're happening in the world. Like, the world is giving recognition to this incident that's happening. But then sometimes it's only social media, like Begley keeps talking about these earthquakes. Or no, he's not going to keep, no, I'm sorry. He's going to keep talking about these earthquakes because this is the next phase. Starting from east to west. Starting on March 15th, 2019, when that New Zealand church got hit by the white supremacist guy that shot it up. From that point on, it was, what's going to be the next event? Going into some more churches? Yeah, I think so. And then all these churches and the burnings and the bombings and the shootings again, and the whole process happens. For 3 weeks, 3 months. 3 straight months. Because on June 15th, over in New Zealand, from east to west is how this pattern is going. It was the churches from east to west, and then the weather started on May 21st, and then now it's from east to west with the massive earthquakes, because this one's a 7.4. So now, you know, we're going over now tsunami warnings too. Don't forget them. Ultimately, this is all going to be blamed on fake news for scaring the crap out of everybody in the world. Once they switch it around, and once the unwritten season starts to really be unveiled, because right now this is the unwritten season, but things aren't truly seen just yet. They will be, but not everybody's going to see it either. It's like there's only this group is going to know the real truth in the world. The 7 billion, they're gonna turn. I'm not saying like magic, like everybody's going to turn to God immediately. What I'm saying is the humbling experience of what's going to happen, and then the fear of what they believed because they weren't paying attention like we were. They weren't sick like us for a certain period of time, and then we started to realize the truth, and then the truth of that truth, and then digging all the way to the truth that this is all a real live reality TV series that I put an episode in every day. I try to put a half-hour episode in every day. I mean, I can still do it. So I'm still going to do it. I'm still talking. And people are still listening. And things are happening. Like, kind of in the direction I see it going. And I do my best to try to prove it. And so that's why I say things beforehand and go back to the videos. So you got east to west, starting with New Zealand. So then we're going to hear about more of them. They're going to be greater than ever. And then here comes the tsunamis. And it was exactly 3 months since the mouthpiece started talking about that. So back to the fear. It's one of your senses that when you're walking down the hallway, you know, it's like you're walking down the hallway, and let's say you're walking with, you know, like your arch rival or something, or you're walking down the hallway, this narrow hallway, and you hear these whispers like, nobody believes you, and you look over like, whatever. But then your arch rival over there, he hears them say, yo, they don't believe it. What? Yes, they do. I'll prove it to them. What is it that you hear that gives you this reaction of either anger or like tickled inside because of the joke that you just looked at that said something to you, as if they're trying to affect you, and you don't allow it? That's defeat. That's defeat. You know what I mean? It's defeat, not Big's feet. That's defeat. Like what's knocking on Steve's door. And then when that defeat is knocking, because he heard what I said, he heard defeat is knocking at your door, Steve. So what he had to do, he had to get up, show me his front door. He had to show me his cell phone that he has, this little cell phone that anybody can just grab, this staged cell phone, and he had to show me and explain what's going on in his house, because I told him that defeat was knocking at the door. So he goes to his front door, he opens up his door, wishes that really good, nice people would come to his house, I bet. Oh man. So he can brainwash them and get them to think that he is God. So what happens is, it's what you hear that causes this reaction as to how you interpret it. So how did Steve interpret what I said? Well, he interpreted it as a threat. It's a threat in his mind. To me, it's just Bible prophecy being fulfilled. I understand that there's somebody out there that's supposed to play this role. I believe I've found that person that's playing that role. And so I just keep going with what I believe until I lose my voice and I can't talk anymore. So when you know that you can literally just push somebody's buttons, like boop, boop, doop. Like, Justin, watch what I do to Steve on this episode. Boop. Hey, look, you guys are playing with us, right? So, but you see, you guys have all the surveillance, and you're trying to mess with our minds, but we're on the other end, and then we're the ones that can actually push your buttons and control what you're doing. Sometimes I feel bad doing it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I do. I mean, even a narcissistic has feelings. You know what I'm saying, Steve? Even a narcissistic can feel something, that they don't want anyone to get hurt. You know, like the people that, your good buddies, they don't care about hurting you or whatever. Tight squeeze. So this is a narrow street. See, there's a narrow street, right? You could, and there's a lot of traffic. You could focus on all the cars around. You could look around and see, if anybody's going to attack you with a gun, because all these crazy people in the world that are on television shooting up people, and you're driving around, and instead of looking to see if there's a bomb going to go off somewhere, because you're just because of what you heard, you're driving around like because of what you heard, because you interpreted that as if it really happened. If you interpret it the other way, like how you can interpret truth from lies in the Bible, well, you don't believe the lie, and then you can tell when it is a lie. Because if you believe the lie, you're going to be scared. So instead of doing all that, just look straight ahead sometimes. I don't know. Or don't. You don't have to. But there's times where I like to drive with my peripheral and then just focus straight on the top of the furthest car up there, and then just experience what I'm feeling as I'm just focusing on that, and then go from looking over at everything, and then see how much more your mind can race with judgment. Because we've all had this problem. If you don't understand it, you'll judge people. You'll judge things. You can judge righteously. You can judge like, oh, that's a nice car. I like those wheels on that. It's pretty nice. The point is, try to shut it down as much as you can, to the point where you are no longer interpreting your senses, your feelings. That's how the animals live in the moment. Animals are content with life like no other, especially my dog. They're just in the moment. And when you can experience that right now, okay, the world's fake, I get it. The real part of the world is yet to come. That's why it's going to be a new world ordered by God. And because Satan mimics everything. But even Satan knows what the deal is these days. And you can't blame him for you being afraid. He's there to tempt you. God is here to test you. So you can't. I don't look at it like giving God all the credit and just looking at Satan like piece of shit. You know what I mean? Because we're all part of the same creation. And evil is there to tempt you, to sharpen you. It's like going into a grinder mill, and the evil is the sharpener. If you stick your head in the sharpener, it's gonna burn and hurt, but it's gonna shine that bad boy up. Your head's gonna be shining. So Satan is like a sharpener. When you are able to defeat something so tough that has always gotten you in your life, which he's gotten me plenty of times in my life, and he still tries to linger around, but I understand who he is now. It's like he just wanted Dad's attention. That's it. He wants Dad's attention, but he's not very pleasing like we are. So that's why you're greatly beloved, because when your son or your daughter does things that are good in life, and you can tell that it's a consistent pattern, isn't that a good feeling? Especially if you went from not having it good, and I can speak from experience on that with my son. It went from not being that good, and then going through all the changes of trying to pull him out of the world, trying to pull his face away from the games, and then afterwards seeing them mature into decent human beings, it's a pretty gratifying feeling. So it's kind of where, I don't know, that's kind of where I'm heading with the way that you grasp your thoughts and how you interpret what you heard, and if you get offended with the things that you hear, and then how you react. Do you react with anger? Do you react with extreme irritation? Or do you just understand that this is all a test? Satan has everything to do with it, just as much as Christ has everything to do with it. They're both teachings that you can go by, and once you know both of them inside and out, then you know which one you can pick as you're walking down that narrow hallway, which side you want to pick, either the left or the right. What part of the conversations do you feel like hearing? The left side or the right side? So you can read the Bible. you can learn how they treated people, how they were treated, how Christ was treated when he was walking around, and you can read all the passages that you want to read in the Bible, but you really have to apply it in your life to let it manifest, so you can understand and feel what it's like to conquer the demons. I mean, it's flat out that it's what it is. I'm trying to help people understand from my own experience. The best way that I know how to explain it, I'll try, and I feel like I can't ever get all my thoughts out of my brain. It just doesn't stop. So, but because I've experienced this, being groomed from the inside out, learning everything from the inside out, and then seeing what's out there, reeling that back inside, and then becoming like a full of understanding type of a vessel that has this understanding over here and this understanding over here, because I've been through this part of my life here, now I'm up to that part of my life there. And that's one of the most important things that I think in your head as you're thinking things through, because where do you get tormented at? In your head. Where do you think demons like to reside? In your temple, in your head. When you understand what their role is, they start respecting you, because they say, oh, he's like one of us now, but he was the other, the other side of the 144,000, the land split right down the middle. So I try to explain it. The evil is just as much as responsible for turning people back to God, like giving them a good heads up with what's happening here, just as much as the good is. Well, what I'm trying to do is, get people to just, it ain't happening the way they're saying it's happening. Just trust me, okay? I'll prove it after it happens. That's when my proof comes after all this deception is over. After Steve gets his entire plan orchestrated and just finished. It's after that, the truth, you'll understand it then. if people don't understand it just yet. Like what the magnitude of what's getting ready to happen in this world. What is it going to be? Something so fearful? Well, it depends on how you interpret what you hear and what you see. If you don't know that this sky is a projection, man, can you imagine men's hearts failing from fear? Well, it's possible that might happen. People might literally die of fear. I mean, I don't know, I guess your heart stops real quick. It doesn't seem too painful, I guess. But if that's how you go out, that's how you go out. We're all going to die one of these days, aren't we? I mean, isn't that what it... Don't you just kind of, if anything in life, don't you just pray that when you die it's not painful and it's not suffering? It's pretty much what I think everybody feels without saying it, but I'll say it because... But is there a chance that I might get brutally murdered and I might be thinking that all this is fake? And it's not? No. That ain't happening either. It doesn't happen in these days. We're not getting beat down. So conquering those whisperers, the transfers, the ones responsible for transferring all these fearful images that you're seeing is, well, it's the king of media. It's the king of media. They're going to try to take the kingdom by force. Steve couldn't give you any more information. I mean, he will, but it's like he must be trying to give us all this information. I'm wondering. Because when you're that obvious as to what you're doing and saying, and you're spitting out the truth with your lies, and you're mixing it together with the book, and you're shaking the 8 ball, and it's so easy to see what you're doing. Does everybody know what he's doing? Like, is it that obvious to you too? I hope it is. If not, it will be. It's fine. I don't mind being the first one to expose who he really is, because being on the outside looking in, exposing this person, how did I know? I don't know. I mean, God led me in this direction to find him, so it's my job to find him, and there he is. There's the man. I mean, we're gonna look at, I'm telling you, we're gonna look at the guy and we're like, is that the guy who caused the earth to... What? Really? Because of the words that he said that came out of his mouth that you were listening to and you interpreted with fear instead of laughing at it like Job 5:22?